welcome to Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Hey, we're all here this week.
We are.
The
Has that ever
gang's
happened
back
before?
together.
Yes. The Scooby Gang is back.
I think the
Cryptid
majority
Scooby
of, since Tony jumped on, I think the majority have just been 3 of us.
Yeah, we've been vacationing, going in and out, back and forth. I was sick, and
She was hella sick.
That's the magic, I think, of having so many people, though. That's what kind of makes it nice, is that if one of us needs to drop out, the rest of us can continue on with without any bumps in the road.
Word.
Love a bump.
Well, never mind. We'll talk about it off air, but it might be time to just change this to Cryptid Corner.
And a Cryptid Corner.
No, I
Cryptid
like Bobby's
corners.
Cryptid Corner because no matter what, you're in a corner.
All
Yeah.
right.
We are.
Yeah.
We're all in a corner.
I feel like I haven't been pulling my weight lately, but I'll start.
I love
agree.
it, but I think Cryptid Corner is
I
also
agree.
Cryptid Corner is very bland, and I think Bobby gives it
All right,
space.
all
It's
right.
special. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bree,
plus you always give us the approval for the cryptids. Like,
Bree,
I don't pull them out.
give me work to do or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
we
gonna
gladly
regret,
will.
I'm gonna regret
by,
asking that.
I was like, you start by making next week video for whatever cryptid it is we're gonna do.
So what is new? We were talking a little bit about CERN off air. That is something that Jamie and I and Kari will talk about tomorrow. But it was a bit of a big day since it's back on.
It is.
And, so many conspiracies around CERN.
I will say on TikTok, there was a lady who works for CERN, and she was like doing lives and stuff and answering people's questions. And so I went on there and I was like, how much are they paying you for all this good press? And then she answered my question and she was like, how much are they paying me for all this good press? Nothing. I just work there and I love it.
Yeah, that's a government show
Liar.
right there.
Liar.
I have a question.
She has like a chip in the back of her neck that's like,
Exactly.
I love it here.
Totally.
It's great.
Great at CERN.
She's a deep fake.
Yeah.
I have my finger vaguely on the post of all things weird and conspiratorial, but I still don't really understand. Well, I know it's a Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
But what does that mean, and why would that alter the fabric of the dimensions or whatever?
Because they are smashing different particles together fast, almost as fast as the speed of light. There's 1.6 billion particles right now now that they've turned it on. It runs 1.6 billion particles colliding per second.
Sounds
So what basically can happen, obviously
Sound
they're
real,
looking
bro.
for different particles, but one of the drawbacks or conspiracy like spikes here is that it can cause, theoretically, a Big Bang. And then
Or it's
CERN has
creating
said,
black holes,
yes, yeah, not Big Bang, I'm sorry, black holes. But CERN has come out and said, yes, technically, but they would be on such a small, almost like microscopic scale that it wouldn't make a difference.
But
I find that hard to believe.
is
You can do it, you can do
the
it.
conspiracy that they're purposely manipulating it to alter the timeline or something like that?
Well, because if you are technically messing with space-time, well, at least with fabric of space, if something were to happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, but it's like a lot of the premise in Stranger Things is they're
The
messing
Montauk
around
Project.
with these things. Exactly.
So
And
at the very least, they could release new wild entities into our realm. Not necessarily shift the timeline, but here comes some more spooky creatures to talk about on Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course. And I'm releasing tomorrow we will be putting out a rewind. We did do a certain episode a couple years ago, and we got into like the backstory of CERN. And I think if it wasn't so linked with occult symbolism, then it could easily be let go. But because of how heavily they are tied with the occult, that you can't you can't rebuttal that. I mean, they have their own tarot cards, and just their art, like the art demonstrations, performances before any of the ceremonies, like when something opens with CERN. I mean, it looks like your typical satanic type of ritual.
Yeah, all those weirdos are into that stuff.
Yeah.
It's
For
just-
good measure.
There's just a lot of
Just to be sure.
ties and things where it's just like, I don't know, it's strange. It's art, science, and occult all mixed in one.
All mixed in one, yeah.
And it's the leading edge of science. And it's
Well, and it was like, what was it, like 5 years ago? They had that mock human sacrifice with that girl in front of the Hindu
Yeah,
statue.
the video.
I like the mock in quotes, by the way.
The mock.
Mhm.
when
Then
was that?
you got
2014?
the queen lighting the
20
tree of life a few
2014,
weeks ago.
something like
That
that.
was weird.
I thought it was 16. It might have been 14.
I don't
Because
remember.
it's been off for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like someone that was a part of CERN. A bunch of like dummies did it and put it out there on the internet to
The
rise
dummies that
conspiracies.
are the
Yeah, the dummies that
theoretical
work with the Hadron
scientists that
Collider.
work-
I know. I should say like dummies, as in they were fueling the fire, and it was
They
a
only
very
graduated cum
obviously
laude.
fake video.
Yeah.
They didn't need to do that. If you just watch the opening ceremonies by themselves, it's more dramatic than the fake like some girl in a dress and a knife. It's worse than that.
Oh, it's very well
Hi, Sarah.
orchestrated.
Is that a hand raise?
Mhm.
Go for it.
Sounds like an op.
Hi, Danielle.
It's an op.
It's an op.
Everything's an op.
Everything's. No.
It's crazy. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Everyone's like, I feel fine. I know TikTok definitely took off with it. Like every day,
TikTok was
people were like,
Oh, yeah.
"Don't drink, don't do anything," because
Yeah.
if a portal
Yeah,
opens,
I
you
saw some
are
lady-
going to be aligned on a different timeline. But listen,
I
it's
agree.
going to be running 24 hours a day for almost 4 years.
I'm going to be drinking at some point. I
Yeah,
am right
like
now.
what?
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of that, should we say what our drinking game is?
Yeah,
Yes.
but real quick, let's shout out to the early arrivers: Bobby Broadway, Danielle, Enzo's here.
Yes,
My
Janet.
flack is everywhere.
Sarah.
Bottled water is in the thing.
He's
So,
In the
Janet.
thing. He's in the
And
corner
I
already.
think that's it. So
here. Hey, everyone, my loves. All nine
welcome
of
the
you out
fours of
there.
you.
Thumbs up, share it out.
yes.
So what are we talking about tonight, you guys?
Wait,
Oh,
we didn't
Renee.
say the drinking word is ape.
Ape?
Ape.
Can I just say this is going to be our last on the nose drinking word for a while.
This is
Okay.
not on the nose.
It's pretty on the nose.
She's literally called the Ape Lady.
Yeah, but we're not
It's
going
kind of on
to
the
refer
nose.
to her every time as the ape lady.
Okay.
I mean,
Fair
her name
enough.
is Zana.
I guess we just like to drink.
She
Or
does
is it
have a name.
Zana?
There is
I was
that.
like, I think
Speaking of
that's the charm of it. It's we're here to drink. You know what I mean? Pop it up and if you got it, light it if you smoke them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so Zana the Apewoman, I just got to say, gets into some controversial area. It's going to be hard to keep this relatively politically correct. Not that we are
Very.
really concerned about that to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just keep that in mind. We are
Keep in
just
mind.
kind of reporting the facts and theories behind all of this. This is not
It's very dark.
necessarily reflective of we don't necessarily endorse some of these ideas we'll be talking about. But it's nonetheless, it's kind of one of those, you got to have kind of a black belt in Bigfoot stuff to really know about this particular instance. I know, Tony, you had heard of her before. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Black
I've heard of it before. And specifically, we'll get into the supposed medical condition as well. I'm very familiar with.
Okay. And is this all new to you, Jamie and Bree?
Chinese
This
Buddha.
is going to be new to me.
Shiva.
I didn't. So I've been sick, so I didn't talk to you guys the last time you decided you were going to do something. So I had no idea. So I did a very light research on it. So I'm coming from it from a very broad perspective, which normally I'm not in this position. Normally I'm the one who does I try to do as much research as I can. So this one's a little weird for me. So you three are Jesus, take the wheel.
You just sit there in the
For me.
caboose and along for the ride.
Exactly.
I think her story is kind of relevant to today's topic. Today, as in our society. So I don't find it offensive. I mean, of course it's offensive, it's gross, but I don't think that just because things are uncomfortable that we shouldn't talk about them.
Agreed.
So we will say grape for another word that is a part of the word grape.
Rhymes with it.
Yeah.
That
You can't
rhymes
say-
with it.
You can't say
Yeah.
rape on YouTube?
I don't know, but I'm
I
going
mean,
with grape.
I feel
think-
On
like
TikTok.
I think it sets off the algorithm.
The alarm.
if you see it.
Ooh.
Fucking
Yes,
CERN.
tomato.
oh, goddamn,
Yeah,
CERN.
fucking CERN.
Fucking CERN.
We can say fuck, but we can't Say
Yeah.
Can we? I don't know. Everyone makes a big deal when they come on the show and they're like, "Can I cozy?"
We're hardcore
Cookies?
objective journalists here. We should be able to say
Yes.
that word.
And I'm like,
Yes.
"No."
All right, fuck it. Then we'll say it. Who cares?
Whatever you guys
Let's
want
do
to
it.
do. If it,
Let's just start off by saying that she's on fleek. All right.
She's on fleek. Yeah,
Now-
for sure.
just
on fleek.
keeping in mind too, it's worth noting we have a few images and whatnot. There's no known photographs. I guess this is kind
None.
of a speculative
No, she
thing.
looks like someone's mom.
I would argue she looks more, based on the descriptions I read, more
Yeah, this is not a
animalistic
good
than
one.
this. But
Oh,
yeah.
this is
this
like-
just looks like my second grade teacher.
Yeah, totally.
like a gym teacher or something.
With a
or-
lovely
yeah.
tan.
Yes. But any kind of images we see will kind of point out, what these were. So there's a few drawings that are speculative, and then there's some photographs of her children, and one of those is always lined up as if it's her daughter. But
Yeah.
just keep in mind as we go through this, that's actually not a picture of her.
Correcto mundo. All right, where does this begin? Who can say that word?
Russia?
Abkhazia.
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 I'm
Is,
pretty sure that country doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't sound like
No.
it would. I think that got chopped up sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a part of Russia now, which is kind of why she's dragged into Russian lore.
Well, so is Georgia to a degree as well. So I mean,
Yes.
this is all like
I
this
didn't
is
even know
all like
Georgia was by
Eastern
here
Europe,
until I did this.
Western Soviet Union, choppy, atomized countries of various eras. This took place in the mid 19th century, though. Let's just talk about what we're dealing with here as far as a physical description before we jump into the actual lore. Basically,
You want a description?
yeah, let's here we go.
Here we go.
6'6" inches tall, found in the Caucasus Mountains, back there on that map we just saw. Black skin, auburn hair, said to be very athletic, muscular build. Legend has it she could outrun a horse. She could swim across the Moscow River even when it was rose to a violent high tide.
She inspired the Olympics for sure.
And inspired the Greeks to do the Olympics centuries before her known whereabouts.
Okay.
So that's your description. So ultimately, what we're talking about here, the legend suggests that it's a half woman, half
No
like
one knows.
ape-like creature or like Sasquatch. That's one of the theories, at least, is that
Lord have mercy.
it's I believe the male side is the Bigfoot, and then the female side is the
Sasquatch.
human.
Doesn't this look like a meme photo? It looks like they took like Mona Lisa and then squashed the
does.
nose.
She looks just like Mona Lisa. You can't tell me that's not Mona Lisa and a monkey together.
Right. It really does. Even looking off in the same direction.
That face is like when he forgets to introduce
That
you,
opens up a
and you're just
whole
like,
nother realm
"Hi."
of possible conspiracies with the whole Da Vinci thing. Was it Da Vinci that did Mona Lisa?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he
You
got
might even say there's a
something.
code involved here. No,
Oh shoot!
Somebody get Dan Brown.
I know,
Yeah.
someone call him.
Anyone want to pick up the origin
She's a
story of
queen.
this?
Yeah, let's do it. So, basically, Zana was out there in the forest, in the woods, living her best life. That's kind of where I think it starts off at. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh, there's a ape woman that's out there living in the forest, just naked, running around, doing her own shit.
Nice. What's going
I'm
on?
sorry,
in the
hold on.
background?
Yeah, I know. What's that? Who's yelling? Someone's having a serious conversation.
Yeah.
Is that
I'm sorry, I have the
a
worst neighbors.
California homeless man
Difficulties.
yelling
Homeless man.
nonsensical nonsense outside your window?
Yes,
Sitting on the sidewalk.
it's definitely my husband. So anywho, so how do you say that? Then the South Caucasus?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Okay.
Think of
South
cock
Caucasus.
and us.
This is
Caucus.
actually where the word Caucasian came from.
Oh shit! I didn't.
Which
even
is
know
quite
that.
ironic given this story, to be honest.
I know very.
No, it is. So, like I said, she's out there living her best life. And there was a bunch of rumors about her that there was this naked wild woman running in the forest, and that kind of spread throughout the region. And there was a merchant who was a frequent traveler in the area, and his name was either Edgy or Edgy. How would you guys say that? Edgy?
E.G.?
Edgy? Edgy?
Edgy?
Do you have any
Janaba.
Georgians in the chat?
Yeah.
Edgy?
Russia, Georgia,
I
not
like
the-
edgy.
Listen, we're known for
Edgy.
pronouncing things correctly around here.
Janaba? Edgy
Yeah, we're really
Janaba?
good at it.
Janaba.
Yeah,
Janaba.
Let's go with it.
Edgy Janaba. Jabba the Hutt.
Keep saying it.
Jabba heard the
Say
rumor.
it 3 times.
Jabba. So, Edgy Jabba heard the rumors about this ape woman that was out there living in the forest, and he needed to capture her for himself. He was like, I gotta have it. And so basically, he paid someone in the town or a few people to go and
Posse.
track her down. A whole posse of people. So he's like, who is this? Oh, I'm going to drop some cash if you help me find this woman because I'm going to make her mine.
And before you know it, again, this is in the 1850s. She was captured by a merchant. And after she was captured, her, I guess, ownership
life.
changed from several hands.
Several times.
And
Yeah.
eventually, she was acquired by a nobleman, Edgy Canoba.
Edgy. So
Edgy
that's kind of another
Hutt.
issue, too, is that there's 2 different variations of this story.
Yeah.
I think I've read at least 20 different articles trying to get to the truth. I usually will go back and forth, and whatever one is like more prevalent, I'll lean towards. But in this case, I found that it was equal, that it was either him that came to town, heard the rumors, paid a posse to track her down, or that it was just a random merchant. We don't know who it was. He bought her, then sold her off eventually to Edgy Jababa.
Now, did they keep her in like a nice,
No.
quaint little cottage or
No.
or
She
habitational
went here just like
enclosure?
letting him fly, being happy in the forest. Like I said, living her best life. And then here they come tracking her down, and she's like, get the fuck out of here.
It's like little
And
kids.
not only that, the locals forced her into a spike line pit, and that's how they caught her.
Well, that's
They
where
threw
she
on
lived,
logs.
right? That's like where they kept her.
Yeah,
Is
so
in
they like
a-
threw on a log. And
Right.
I'm kind of having trouble with this story from just that. I know that they threw her on some type of log and then was able to like tie around her on both ends. But if she is an Olympian, I just can't imagine that she couldn't just take all of them
Jump out of it. Yeah.
knock them in the head. I don't know. Maybe she thought they wanted to hang out.
Yeah, there's not much description out there as to how she was captured, as far as like how they like subdued her or anything. So who
Yeah.
knows
Yeah,
if they
there
used
really
some sort of weaponry or something? I don't know, but you're right. According to the legend, she's superhuman strength, like the She-Hulk.
Yeah.
But a posse of weird
Captured
Eastern
her.
European men were able to capture her.
And what was awful about that is apparently since she was such a untamely woman is when they basically threw her in like a trench with, like Tony said, with a bunch of spikes around it. And she lived there. She had to dig her own little hole in the ground to sleep in. And they would just bring food up. They would lower it into the hole because they said that she was just like out of control. So she lived here for 3 years in this little trench.
I got the vibe that it was kind of like the unofficial village attraction. Like I'm sure like the little kids would
it
go and
was.
like see
It
how
was.
close you could get to the little ditch with the spiked monkey lady.
Yeah, he eventually, Edgy, I'm just going to call him Edgy. He eventually
Edgy.
started charging for people to come and see her
Stare.
and
Yeah.
gawk at her, throw things at her, poke things at her. This was like in my opinion, I get the vision that this was like the very first version of a freak show.
Mm.
In
out
that
there in
area.
1800s.
Yeah,
It
I
would
mean,
be in that area.
that kind of stuff is, I think, over this time, as far as weird anomalies, I think people have been attracted to seeing that forever. As far as exploiting it for like
I
local
just can't
fare.
see that.
Yeah, I mean, this we see this all the time with cryptids, right? Whether obviously not always a captured one, but the way that a local legend can be embraced or commercialized or exploited or whatever,
100%.
for better or worse. There's a very similar story, I believe, in the early 20th century, the story of Jacko, not Michael Jackson, but Jacko was like a little ape boy that they found in North America.
Sounds so familiar.
And he traveled him around in circuses, and apparently this is all fuzzy memory, but I think he escaped and was kind of never seen again, kind of thing, and said to be possibly a juvenile Sasquatch. So this is probably one of the first incidences of a ape person being
like
in
a
these
circus
kinds of situations,
almost.
but it's not the only one.
That's very sad. It's very sad to me that she went from really just turning up in the forest to being captured and kept in a ditch for 3 years, and now in this like little cage where people just come and laugh at her. It's sad, and the worst, like, to know that she couldn't speak sucks too, because she could at least be like, get away from me, beep, beep, beep. You know, she could just like go off on them or something. But I think because she couldn't speak, that probably added to all the weird things about her. Maybe they were just like, what, you can't, like, I can imagine people back then, since they were very ignorant to different disabilities, and who knows if she maybe just had a different, I don't know, situation.
And, yeah, I mean, you can read stories about like feral children found, and they're like, it's a very similar situation. Like, if you don't develop speech pretty early on in life, like, it's a fat chance that you're gonna advance in that.
Oh yeah.
And eventually, I mean, it's said that she refused to wear clothes. She was highly aggressive, but eventually, go ahead.
Well, also too, like Bree was saying, like, you know, it's horrible living conditions, but I feel like living in the cage with the spikes and people staring at you was probably the most comfy she was out of all of her time being captured, because it kind of goes downhill for her with this story.
I mean, does it though?
Yeah, I mean, you're not totally wrong. She was there. So this edgy guy did end up teaching her how to do chores and stuff, which essentially made her a slave, because she had no way of doing anything about it. And so I guess at that point she was living inside in some type of quarters or something, but
so after she was not as like mangy, or they make it seem like she was just so out of control, like a wild beast, that it took her those 3 years. And then eventually she started to calm down. So Edgy took her out of the trench and then gave her like a little enclosure space herself. But she was still tethered to the walls there. And then eventually he took off the tether, but she still didn't go very far. So it's almost like, you know, with a trained animal, a dog, or not obviously your dog, I don't think that's normal, but your cat, maybe you let your cat out a little bit and then it's like, okay, this is home, and it just sticks around.
I read that she was eventually quote unquote tamed and could kind of roam freely, but rarely ever strayed too far from where food was. And then in addition, it was said that it reported that she would kind of like escape back to like swimming holes and things and relaxing in the woods, but always ended up coming back to her master, Edgy.
I wonder if she was young, because I feel like if she was middle-aged when they found her, that she probably lived most of her life out there in the forest just doing her own thing, and wouldn't need to stick around for them to bring her food. I can't imagine that her situation before they found her was any better than after.
I think there's an I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I think there's an element of trauma when you just break someone to the point, even if you do, like, even if you do capture I don't know. Again, I'm not a zoologist or a doctor, but I'm assuming if you capture a relatively young tiger out of the wild, like you can't just release them back. And
No.
Yeah, they don't know
several
how to
years.
hunt. They don't know how to defend
Right.
themselves.
Or like Enzo said, Stockholm syndrome. Maybe she's just like, I have it better here with my master.
Yeah.
But it is sad because she eventually, I mean, other than being able to roam free sometimes, she was mainly, she always remained this freak to everyone that the community would come see and poke at and gawk at. And then it gets worse with the occasional men, strange men in the city would,
Fornicate.
yeah, they would
Grape.
they would grape her, basically.
Yeah.
But it was also like a little bit. Well, what I heard was that like she was like won in like poker games and things like that. Like she was very much like
Drinking shenanigan prizes and
exactly
stuff,
like exactly like she was very much treated as a piece of property that somebody could use.
Yeah, it's like man, it's like human trafficking.
Exactly.
Human trafficking in ape. And it's just like, it just goes to show how backward things are sometimes when there's someone that makes fun of you and pokes at you and looks down to you, but then they end up like using you in a sexual, like you're just a sexual object. And that's why I think that it's kind of prevalent to this time, because I think that women are still seen like that in a lot of cases. And I just feel bad for her.
And not to get too dark, there's actually a pretty recent report out of, I want to say Indonesia or Malaysia or someplace like that, about a village that more or less trained an orangutan for similar.
No.
Yeah, it's real fucked up.
No.
Yeah, it's fucking dark. But my point is, like, this kind of stuff isn't even today out of the. Did you draw breasts on this thing?
Maybe.
Yes.
That's just a picture of a Bigfoot. You made it the lady of.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be Zana with the Russians.
He's been
And her
drinking.
little captive, she's like, what do you want? I don't have pants on.
It's like, I sleep in grass.
Yes. Yeah, that is one of the stories I've read, is that they would hand her clothes and she would rip it up. She's like, what is this garbage?
But it also brings up the idea of where did she come from, and was she the only one?
Right.
Well, I think that some of the answers of that go to the DNA testing, because they ended up DNA testing
Wait,
some
we're
of
not
her
even
children. I was like, yeah, I know. We're jumping ahead, but some of that I think is solved with the DNA stuff.
And that's a little teaser. It's still quite controversial, though. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's known as this snow woman because she can go out there in the snow. It actually looks like a very pretty area out there in the couscous.
And keep in mind too that the Bigfoot is not
Caucasus?
exclusive to North
Caucasus.
America, and even the Himalayas. The Russians have the Almas or the Almasty, and obviously this is a running theory that she's some sort of hybrid of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were researching it, again, like you mentioned, Bree, the timelines don't really match up, but there's the whole legend of Stalin's ape men. He was doing a lot of genetic experimentation during the USSR, I guess the 30s and 40s or whatever. And my mind immediately went there as a possibility. However, this was a little, probably 70 years before all that. So,
Unless it was like inspiration for it. Like
Yeah.
they heard the story and they're like, well,
It's
can we
possible.
create these 6.5 foot tall, super strong people that can outrun a horse?
and whenever, and I'm sure we're going to touch on this a bit when we
I'd
get into the
place
genetics
bets.
of all. The other thing, whenever you hear about, like, what's the word? Like renegade tribes of Neanderthals, it's usually
Yeah.
it's usually in this part of the world for whatever reason.
Interesting. Okay.
Very interesting. Probably because it's so close to Russia, I'd want to leave too. So, the Snow Woman was another name for her, but I think she's overall known as just like the ape, the ape woman. Drink.
Ooh, drink.
Oh, okay.
Drink. The A word has been said.
So unfortunately, one of the things that the community people would do when they would come and see her is they started giving her a bunch of alcohol. And it most likely stemmed from wanting to see how she reacted, and then she probably reacted kind of funny or whatever.
Yeah.
But
It's much easier to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
absolutely, and she then became an alcoholic.
I was going to say, and I feel like she probably used it to numb her pain.
I mean,
What
I
a-
would too.
What a Russian thing to do. Like,
very.
Vodka.
Have one vodka.
let's
Stop
give it
crying,
vodka.
ape woman.
See what
Have a
happens.
vodka.
Yeah.
Make the ape shut up. Have vodka.
I like our
Drink.
Russian accents.
Yes, we're all very good at this.
Jamie, you're so
Yes.
slow on the button.
Sorry, I was watching.
I mean, what else are you gonna do with an ape lady after you have her in captivity for
Oh, shit, another one.
decades on end? Like, yeah, let's see what happens if you
Feed
throw
it
her a
alcohol.
bottle of Stolies in there.
Yeah.
So, of course, as science goes, she ends up with Babe.
Yep.
Babe.
One thing I find very confusing back and forth with these stories is if she either had 6 or 4 children.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be like a conclusive amount.
Right.
And I'm surprised that's really all that they said, because I would assume it would be a lot more.
I'm hearing at least 4,
Maybe
and
it's a cover-up.
assumed. I'm hearing at least 4, and it's assumed or speculated that Edgy is the father.
Right.
All of them?
Who knows?
No,
I
at least
mean,
of one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, who knows?
I mean,
But
I'm
the
sure.
point is, again, I'm not a geneticist or a doctor or whatever, but it sounds like she could reproduce with human beings,
Yeah.
Right.
which kind
Yes.
of makes things interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so they're kind of like hybrids. So because they don't have as thick of skin and an overall thick coat of hair, they can't really withstand the same type of weather that she can, or just circumstances with elements in general. So her instinct when the babies come is to put them in the water at the river, clean them up, give them some drinking water. Well, that water is like snow melt. And so the story goes that with at least 2 children, she tried to do this and they both died.
Them. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't read that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That
the
makes
community
sense.
was like,
Okay.
take the babies away from her because she's going to try to clean them with
She
some
has no idea what she's
ice
doing.
water, and she
Yeah.
thinks they're going to be okay, and then they are actually like freezing and dying.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that kind of brings up, like, after the second time it happens, do they go, okay, maybe stop having sex with these ape
Maybe
women?
This
pause
is becoming
on
very inconvenient for the entire community.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, it's getting really weird here. Can we stop doing this?
Honestly, I find that strange too, because if she was such a freak to everyone, but then at the same time they are graping her and wanting her to keep her children, I'm actually kind of shocked at that.
That's kind of weird. Yeah, that is.
But maybe that's why there's only, well, we don't really know for sure how many are left.
How many kids,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really up in the air.
Legend has it there's at least 2 confirmed because you have Natalia, the granddaughter, okay, and then her son, Kivit. Oh,
It's like Kevin, I feel like.
It's Kevin, yeah.
It's Kevin of the Russians, yeah.
so yeah, this is that
Natalie,
picture on the left of Natalia. This is
Right,
the one you
yeah.
always see next to it as if to imply that this is what she looked like, but that's not at all.
No, not at all. And I have seen other like family tree things, but it doesn't make sense. And no one knows for sure. Everything's like allegedly. Maybe the sister or the grandson or another granddaughter or, you
Can
know.
I just say none of these people look related either?
No, they
So
really don't.
what
Oh,
it is
just the big
is
nose.
what is the word? It is, there's a word for it. God damn it. Let me see if hopefully I put this in my notes because I'm usually pretty good at it. There is a word for that.
Jesus Christ, sides and backgrounds.
I know, right?
What?
When there isn't
Well-
much to do, drunk bang the she squatch.
Show it again.
What did I miss?
The comment.
I think it's whatever. Fuck.
I don't know what the hell you're saying.
I don't see it, but
What
there's
does it
a
mean?
word. Basically, it's the word for that high brow bone, that very distinct
Oh, that
brow
Cro-Magnon.
bone. That
Like a Neanderthal.
right,
Oh.
but a lot of people surmise that it's coming from a Bigfoot type of Neanderthal. And so that is the prevalent trait that sticks out throughout that whole family tree. So even though they don't look alike, they still have that distinct whatever this is, and the ape that it would be, that really hard brow bone.
And one of the things that is like people found it to be so like controversial and like it's like in poor taste to suggest that these people were like part Neanderthal. I'm like, yeah, but like a lot of people around the world still have Neanderthal DNA in them.
Yeah, it's recessive in a lot of people.
Right.
Absolutely,
maybe whatever they're concluding from these people, it's like more than usual or something, but it's just like I mean, they were more or less bred in with Homo sapien.
Maybe these are the people who were passing it down to the generations that are now. You know what I mean? The people who have it now, these are the ancestors of them.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility to suggest that there are, I just talked about how it all kind of assimilated over the centuries or whatever between Homo sapien and Neanderthal. But I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility that like some little isolated sects of humanity could have maintained more Neanderthal.
Oh yeah.
Than others.
When I had my DNA tested for National Geographic a long time ago, so it showed that the average American population had like 1.1% Neanderthal, and I had 1.2%, and it put me at like a higher Neanderthal bloodline.
Okay,
yeah, so
fancy.
Yeah, if you have some cultures cut off from the world more so than others, that percentage could be up significantly, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the granddaughter just looks like a normal person. It's hard to say. It really is. I don't think they look anything. I find it hard to think that if she was a full-on ape woman, that if she slept with one person, that it would cut all those genes out dramatically and look like them.
Right.
Yeah, it would take 5 or 6 generations for it to.
And I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah.
If you were to successfully, like even a modern human, successfully have a modern human survive in the wild for a couple generations, they would probably grow more hair. They'd probably be a lot more athletic build. They would maybe increase in height, more muscular, more adaptable to the outdoor environment. I mean, we literally, like, I haven't left the house once today, right? Like, I haven't gone outside at all. It's hot as balls, But, like, think about if you were out there all the time and you had to fight for survival, you had to fight for your food. Eventually, evolution adaptation is going to kick in. And it wouldn't, I would argue, it wouldn't take very long to regress, quote unquote, back to some sort of more optimal
primal
absolutely state. The hair, for one thing. I always think about that. I think about that because in our society, it's like we get rid of hair, right? We're just like, we don't want that. Mm-hmm. But then we have to think about the fact that we have hair in those in those areas for a reason. It's blocking out sun. It's blocking out bacteria. So I imagine, like you're saying, Bobby, that we would go back to more, if not like more hair and shit.
Yeah,
and
something would be switched on in our genetics.
Maybe that's like glasses.
Yeah.
Well, and there are some people with some genetic conditions and that make them look like they're monkeys, and people call them monkey people, and they have the face and the hair.
Who calls them that?
They have little BuzzFeed articles and stuff about it. Absolutely.
So I do have something at the very end. I do have something at the very end that that could be a possibility.
But,
So-
but what I'm saying about that is that those people don't have it, and so if it's something that would get passed down, those people, she obviously didn't have it because they would have had more of it
Right.
than
Oh shit!
what was
Well-
pictured there.
Hides and long grasses.
When
hate
society
men.
collapses in the next 6 months, we'll find out in another 10, 20 years if we turn into 8 people again.
Yeah. Well, there are actual instances in nature where there are animals that look one way in captivity and completely
Totally.
change.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody's aware of wild pigs
Look
and
at dogs.
dogs, yes, but wild pigs will actually make a huge physical change over
Mhm.
like 6 months or so. Their snouts get longer, their tusks get bigger, and that's why legally the only difference between a wild pig and a non-feral pig is what side of the fence it is on.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know
Oh
that.
shit!
Yeah.
I know
totally.
that pigs are very destructive,
Oh yes.
Love that.
and that
Well-
everyone
And
shoots them.
delicious.
There's like a free
Very.
pass to just murder all of them.
Can I just say that pork is incredibly underrated?
I really like
even
bacon
still.
and sausage. I'll agree with you.
Yes, Danielle, great point. That's what I have at the very end of this presentation.
So this was one of those kind of local lore stories that was passed down, and we have alleged children and all that, but it was never really scientifically inquired upon until the 20th century.
Yeah.
How cute is
And there's
she?
all kinds of theories. Obviously, there's the Yeti hybrid theory. There's the Neanderthal theory. In 2015, a gentleman named Brian Sykes, this guy's been smeared for various reasons, so take this with a grain of salt, if you will. But they tested the saliva samples from her descendants and one of the tooths from her son and determined that she was 100% human, and went on to further suggest that Neanderthals survived and migrated into the Caucasus regions. And there's not a whole lot of proof. This is pure speculation that based on this guy's claims, insinuating that Zana was part Neanderthal, not Bigfoot. Again, unproven speculation, and that's kind of where some of his credibility falls off there. Because it's one of those like legit scientific inquiries, and it's like, well, here's my conclusion after, but it's not backed by the initial evidence that they came up with.
Damn, I read the craziest fucking article thing where they did like 1,000,000 tests, and it was all after that guy because he was so on the fence.
Right.
And I had to skip a lot of the article because I just couldn't fathom what they were saying. Mm-hmm. It was like so over my head. Just tremendously, all the different things that they tested and the different machines that they used. The only thing that really stuck out to me was that they used 3 different archaic humans that could be somewhat in her lineage. So like Neanderthal, Denisovan. I have the hardest time with those people. Denisovians? Denisovan.
What do you mean those people? You people.
Well,
That was a
because
hate
they're
crime.
aliens.
That was a
No,
hate crime.
no, because they're fucking aliens. In fact, if it's not already out, I know that Andrew Collins is coming out with a book this year about that. But that's been highly, highly, highly regarded as being either hybrid aliens themselves or kind of the first people off of alien civilization.
Always bring
So
it back to
that's-
aliens.
That's kind of cool.
I was restricting myself when you were talking about losing hair and how we want to get rid of hair. I was like, yeah, so we want to be more like the Anunnaki. Like they didn't have any hair. We want to be shaven, be more like the gods. But
there's more than that though. They did that. They did chimpanzees. They did different genomes from where are they from again? The Caucasus?
The Caucasus. Yes, the Caucasus. Caucasus
Caucasian
Mountains.
They're hunter-gatherers, so that's like CHG, and then individuals that went back 13,300 years ago. some type of other specimen. They used an ass ton of different specimens and lineages. And I can drop this for you here if you want.
An ass ton.
An ass ton. Like,
well, it was also
the numbers and the things. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
They found genetic markers that go back to Scotland as well in the DNA of
I saw that
her son,
her sons. But then that makes sense though, because who was she mating with? So it's not necessarily her, but
not a lot of Scottish people going out there in the early 1900s to Georgia.
They were very busy being Scottish.
Yeah.
And then another, just to add another wrench in the gears, Sykes's research suggested that the DNA of Zana's descendants has discovered West African genes, but the DNA didn't actually match any known African groups.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we think about that as like if we subscribe to, well, all of humanity came from Africa, that whole thing. I mean, there's that. But it's still interesting that they couldn't pinpoint it back to a specific, seemingly a specific location or group of people.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop this article for you guys because I don't know when it was out, but I feel like it kind of puts everything to rest.
To rest.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is obvious. But then sometimes I feel like whenever that's in the writings, it's really just meant to shut people up. So, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that you would use that type of terminology. Like, it is very obvious that it is this.
People are always trying to get a hold of the narrative and twist it to fit into their little scientific boxes. So that's one thing I always have to consider.
For sure, but I do think that this was a pretty damn good one here.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's very sciencey, this conversation.
If you guys can understand it.
Is it?
For us.
As much as it could be for us.
Here, I'm going to put it in the whole comments. And then, to be extra special, I'm going to fucking share it here.
Oh, graphs.
Graphs. Look, this
yes,
is cool.
I know. So they just kind of break down all the different material and methods that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is the kind of stuff where I'm like, I don't understand. What?
I'm glad you're showing us.
Yeah, thank you.
The BG
What?
sequence. Yeah.
I don't have time to read through that and interpret.
What is that?
It.
This is her family tree, or this is the tree of where she is with all the different genos that they tried to link together and see where the different lineage could kind of meet. So let's see. The analysis of the mitochondrial DNA, sequences of Zana and CRYPTID, alongside 93 other complete mitochondrial DNA sequences. They're human of LT. I don't understand. And yeah.
Well, let me go get an 8-year degree in advanced genetics, and I'll be right back. I'll make it.
Here we go. This is all we need to know right now. The results clearly show that Zana is neither genetically close to archaic humans nor the chimpanzees, but clusters closely with modern human populations, as expected from kinship. So obviously, whatever his name is, Kevin.
Kiev.
Kevin. He is between European and Caucasian and African populations.
Yeah, and there's other theories of escaped Ottoman slaves, things like that as well. So I'm just gonna have a hard time, I don't want to jump the gun if you guys have more to comment on this, but
look at this. See, there we go. Just they reject it.
As they reject what?
It just clearly rejects any hypothesis that she was of non-human origin.
Sure.
Clearly, it says it right there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I've seen it on the internet. It's true.
They really did the fucking work, though. This was much after
assuming that these are even her real children.
Sachs, whatever his name is.
Or that they got a hold of her actual DNA as a comparison model for it.
Okay.
and then she died in like 1890.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Yeah.
how we want to frame factor sci-fi with this one.
Hold up.
Hold
It
up.
was like, that's what's hard about it.
So
I
this
wanna
is her
frame it-
head compared to someone else's.
Says
Hold
who?
up. Hold up, Poe.
This is like ask that for everything.
They know for a fact this is her head?
Yes.
Then how come if they have
That's why they're examining
why
how
haven't they done facial reconstruction? Why don't we have facial reconstruction pictures?
we do. That's what we were using earlier. That's the Mona Lisa face.
No.
Solid.
It's this one. Yeah, that's what it is. Look at them teeth, straight as hell.
Missing.
So, my thing,
All right.
my factor sci-fi is if she is a Bigfoot or a hybrid, or if she has hypertrichosis, which is that condition where you have an excessive amount of hair that can grow anywhere in the body,
I have a question about hypertrichosis.
and that's that monkey thing.
Okay.
That
Is that said to be inherited by offspring?
It can be, but it is not a
It's not a guarantee.
guaranteed inherited genetic.
It's kind of like a
That's good.
dwarfism. Like, you can, but you don't always get it.
Or twins, or
Exactly.
Male pattern balding.
right.
So
This is the
they,
exact
yeah,
opposite.
that's kind of, I think, the overall, I hate to say consensus, because I feel like I use that word too much.
Story.
But that is the overall consensus, is that she must have had some type of genetic disorder, such as hypertrichosis, which caused that werewolf disorder, and could also probably explain away her strange behavior and lack of speech and the long body hair, etc. Or she was a female Bigfoot.
And nothing else in between.
God
Nothing
damn
else.
it. I have my own theories that are neither.
There are
of
your
these, but
options.
Someone else go.
You know what? Since
Take
Jamie
one for
was
the
dead,
team.
it's Jamie's turn.
Okay, I'll go. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sci-fi this one.
Ooh, really?
I genuinely think this might just possibly be a case of some sort of like racism, where it's just a human being.
We avoided that part of the story quite well until now.
I was like, yeah, we didn't. You guys didn't talk about it at all, but I feel like this is genuinely just some racism that happened,
It could very well have been.
Yep.
and
Very
I think
possibly.
that this is, yeah, I think that this is just a human person from Africa that was treated horribly. Very sad.
I don't know, babe.
So I started with a bang, so go for it.
Well, we did forget to say that, like, I know Bobby kind of skimmed over it, but it is true that she literally died just being a slave, being a sex slave with some
Which
children and
transcends-
stuff. And drunk. At least she was drunk. Hopefully
At least she
like,
was drunk.
At
Yeah.
least, I mean, hopefully she's just
She
like,
died
whatever.
a drunk.
And she was
With a lot
buried
of hair.
on Jabba the Hutt's family cemetery. And then the Russians came, the Soviet scientists came to the region in 1962 to gather everything
Steel.
because they heard all the different accounts. So they were like, we've come here for the bones. And they went to the
They're
village.
from Wisconsin.
They
We've
robbed.
come here
the
for the
bones.
bones, eh?
Come for the bones. They took
That's a
the
little
bones and
Irish,
shipped
but
back
okay.
to Moscow.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Much better.
Take it
Sort
to
of.
Moscow.
Closer. Not great.
Do you have a cigarette?
We're-
Vodka.
So many potential hate crimes in this episode. We didn't ever take advantage of that.
all from Bree. When somebody else does it, it's a hate
Yeah.
crime. When Bree does it, it's just fun.
Because I think people know I don't mean to, like, I am the most, you know.
Vodka.
Me and
Who's
Tony
the
are the
same?
red
Just
state
the
racists
most.
of the
Yeah.
of the group.
Yeah, you
here.
and your red state
Yeah.
F-alls over here. I'm blue state Betty. So,
Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think, Tones?
Well, I'm
Toads.
gonna lean that this really isn't a cryptid, and I want to say I'm gonna go between a sci-fi and middle bitch, and I'm going to
That's a sci-fi.
explain why.
Oh, hit us with the facts.
So I do believe that this is somebody who was just a really big person. Who I don't think they were running faster than horses or like picking up chariots or whatever the hell.
Bringing up Soviet tractors.
Yeah.
This reminded me of something I wanted to read.
But they probably had hypertrichosis, which as a baby in that time, it was probably seen as, like a disability. That if you're on the run from the Ottoman slave trade, you're just going to probably pitch that child because you don't know what's going to happen with it. And then she survived out in the wilderness on her own. Mm-hmm. There's several accounts of people doing that. And then was just captured probably in her.
Wait, so you think she was kicked to the curb because she was hella hairy and stuff? So they're like, we don't want
they
to.
would have been able to recognize that that's the family.
Yeah. I think it was at that point in time, if you're on the run and you have this child, that could be some type of, problem
hindrance,
for you. You don't know what people are going to do, especially.
Or maybe people think that you're the devil and you gave birth to the devil. You know what I mean?
Like the Jersey Devil. She's the Jersey Devil of that family.
That's a great explanation right there.
So I think she just grew up really strong because she grew up in the woods having to fend for herself. And it's part of Russia, so there's got to be bears. And so it's a real person. I think just some genetic deformities happened. And then because she wasn't raised by anybody, she never developed speech patterns or anything like that. So they just took complete advantage like they would a early 1900s circus freak.
That's really fucking sad. I just wanted to read this to you guys really quick. I forgot to show this to you.
Okay. Let me get rid of this.
Right here. Abnanu, that was just another word for the Alamastes. They're in Russia, which is basically a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Was very tall, massive,
Bobby
wide.
said that.
Oversized breasts, high fat ass.
Nice. Double nice. Covered in hair.
High fat ass is a scientific description of a Bigfoot in Russia.
This is body and face.ru, so I don't know what this is. This is all Russian.
I've decided this is definitely scientific.
No, this is a different website.
No, I get that. But
I trust this more than the scientific stuff.
I agree.
For the high fat ass.
Seems more honest.
Yes.
I read that and was like, I can't look at the rest of this article.
Sweet, succulent, high fat ass Bigfoot women.
It's like, what is this? Yes, Enzo's comment, thick foot. I'm in love with that thick foot.
Oh,
fuck, that's a fucking funny.
Okay.
All right, I really don't know what to do, so I would like someone else to say.
I'm gonna go very similar to Tony's. I don't think we have anything Bigfoot related on our hands. There's just too many other Occam's razor explanations for this, including rampant racism of the time. To allude back to Jamie's point, I think that this is kind of just one of those perfect storms of lore that gets developed and passed down through the generations based on a less educated population, isolated population. I think I don't know about hypertrichinosis. Is that what
hypertrichosis?
Hypertrichinosis would be like a very diseased pig.
Yeah.
I don't know so much about that, but I think that there's definitely a possibility of, like I was saying earlier, of like some sort of isolated, more, I guess, something that presents more with Neanderthal features, maybe, and throw that in addition to adapting to surviving in the wilderness for a big chunk of their life, and all the feral children type stories you hear about and their development. The hair bothers me about what I just claimed. That's weird. It's almost like a Nephilim type thing. We'll talk about the Nephilim theories at some point. It's always like long red hair kind of thing. So I'm gonna go like a hard middle bitch. Again, not a Bigfoot, but not necessarily hypertrichosis either. I think that there's a lot of explainable facets to this. We don't really know for sure, though.
Wow. Okay.
I have a question before I continue with maybe an answer.
Yes.
Is there a possibility that once the Russians took hold of the bones, that they covered things up and like maybe it was something crazy?
I mean, the Russians always cover things up, so that's always a huge possibility.
Yes.
Why would it not
Government
be?
always covers.
You know
things.
it? Yeah.
I was just setting myself up to say middle bitch and not be judged. Middle bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
Glad you
definitely
said middle
possible.
bitch as well. I do want to say too, everybody in the chat, there is, if you're a member, there is little emojis that you could vote for middle bitch, fact, or sci-fi. So you guys should put your votes inside the chat if you guys are a member. It's only 99 cents a month. Go ahead, Bree. Tell us why you think it's a middle bitch.
Purely on the fact that Russia lies.
Russia lies.
And if they got the bones, which I imagine that they did, then there's a possibility that there was more to the story. I do lean more towards sci-fi. If I were to really listen to like my gut, it says
If
more
you were
of a
going to be a
sci-fi.
Hillary Clinton flippy floppy.
Hillary Clinton full baby blood drinking.
How far was she found from Dyatlov Pass? Ooh,
Very.
Is it
Very far
I
away.
mean,
That would be, if it was close, that'd be great.
but that would be interesting. Although, I mean, that's like, we're
Bitch.
talking at least 100 years later. At least 200. No, God, I don't even know how much longer. I can't do math, so it's
It's a very good question. Is it on the 33rd parallel?
35th? The 33rd or 35th?
33 or 37. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Where is, do we know where modern day Apeville is?
I like hides and long grass a lot.
Yeah.
Modern
that's my
day.
boy or girl, I don't know.
Where is this? Someone give me the
It's
name.
Georgia. It's the Black
Where
Sea and
is
Georgia coast.
Georgia,
It's where the Falcons play.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me confused because it's gonna pull
That's where
up.
Corey's from. Georgia.
What is the?
I didn't fart once this episode. I'm so proud.
Congratulations, Corey.
I'm disappointed.
I didn't mean to actually. I was hoping
That's why I
for-
keep doing this for that magic moment. It's rare if it happens.
This
Oh
magic
God, it's not. Wait, hold
moment.
on. This is Georgia. So it was before that. So
Where is it?
The Dyatlov Pass is in like,
it could. No,
northern
I'm just
Russia,
looking at like.
North
Okay,
Siberia.
so if we were to
Yeah, show
compare
it.
our maps that we had before, because this is Georgia, the village area was up here.
It
Okay,
was-
this is 40. So if it's anywhere up here, I think it's going to be 37.
37th parallel area.
I must say, I don't think anyone's ever looked this up before for this reason.
I feel like every single thing Jamie and I do with this, we always end up looking up
The parallels. Yeah.
I just need to know the exact name
Okay,
of the
There's lost. Okay.
yeah.
So there's like the 33rd parallel that goes across the entire world and the 37th parallel, and weird things are said to happen upon both of these parallels. Like
Or between them.
or between them, exactly. Like it seems to be just like a belt for really weird activity that happens there. And we've done episodes on both of them before, I believe. They're back on our
Yeah.
YouTube somewhere.
Done lots.
I think in the U.S. it's called the meth belt.
Well, you know what's actually on the one here
Yes,
in the
that's
US?
true. Now that I think about it.
And one that's here in the U.S. is it has a bunch of prisons that have where they execute prisoners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like
death row.
90% of them are
Yeah.
upon
All death row is on 37.
A lot of
33rd.
Masonic sites as well, I believe.
A lot of Masonic sites, absolutely.
Phoenix goes right through it.
Oh, so
Yep.
then we're talking about 33.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's
oh,
what I
right
mean.
now we were. Sorry, we were
33
just,
is Masonic number in and
33
of
is-
itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, but all the death row cases, I mean, that's just like, we're like, skirt, side eye. because to me, I'm like, they're giving souls.
Well, I'd like to recommend the movie Quest for Fire. It's about cave people.
All right, tell us.
Starring Daryl Hannah, who does not look like a cave lady at all.
Okay.
She's a very attractive woman from the 1980s.
Do you have a picture?
Quest for Fire. All right.
Hit me.
Wait, is that Daryl Hannah or is that Clan in the Cave Bear I'm thinking of? Damn it. I was confused those two.
Tony, you met Enzo this past weekend, did you not?
I did.
Did you have fun?
Me and Danielle met Enzo, and we spent the day together.
He has the best hugs in the whole wide world.
Yeah, he does.
Yep, we
I miss him so much.
Sorry, Clan in the Cave Bear is Daryl Hannah, but they're both good movies about cave people.
There's a really good episode of One Punch Man where he fights the subterranean people. Mm-hmm. Anybody ever saw that?
Nope.
Okay.
Wait, what is it?
Nope.
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Yeah. It's an anime. It's hilarious. It's funny. I like cartoons.
So does my husband. He's most likely watching that right now. So I'm just getting 40. I'm looking, and at this point, I'm like, okay, you're trying too hard to try to find to be on the 37th. But I keep getting 40, but also because we don't know the exact location because, things have moved and not. But from what I can find so far, everything's on 40. But I have a thought that it could be on the 37th.
All right. So I think that everyone here is leaning towards that more middle area, and I'm the only one who's a full sci-fi on this one, which is not.
I could
not
full
a bad place to be.
Sci-fi. I could.
No, don't change your mind. It's too late to do it. Don't talk yourself out of it. We don't have another hour.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Oh, that's fucked up, but it's funny.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry. I love you.
Atrocity.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Low-hanging fruit.
Do you guys want to stay in Cryptid, or do you guys want to do like? I think I mentioned to you guys it would be cool to do battles. So like, I want to battle the Rake with Slender Man, and there's another one I had too. I forgot.
Wait, so do you mean like an entire episode where we talk about the two of them fighting each other, or just a segment maybe that we do at the end where we have like a weekly battle, maybe the previous week
battle.
This week? Yeah.
I love the battles because I feel like when we did Ghosts versus Aliens, it was so cool because it's like, well, some people like to mix them, but then how are they different and what kind of like power does one have over the other? And if they were in a little boxing match, who would win? Just throwing it out there.
All right. We'll talk about it. We got a group chat.
Yep.
All right, you guys, any final thoughts for the week before we get out of here?
Tomorrow we are going to go over CERN again, some of the cool stuff going on. We're going to release a Toddy Wabba Rewind that is all about CERN. And then we're going to touch base on Roswell because we've also gone deep into Roswell. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the best ones that could be on YouTube. And then there is also something airing tomorrow on Tubi. If anyone wants to download that, it is a free app, and there's movies and shows and things like that. There is a aliens, abductions, and Roswell 75th movie documentary that's coming out tomorrow.
2 hour long tomorrow, yes. That we hear some cool people are in, some of our friends. Maybe me and Bree make an appearance. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. And we just.
What about you two?
I just dropped a new episode of Not For Everyone podcast on the
Hell
1991 Top Gun ripoff starring Nick Cage and Tommy Lee Jones called Firebirds. Firebirds. Big 4th of July
love that. That's a vibe.
Party episode.
Nice.
If you listen to one thing, just listen to the cold open of that episode because my co-host Crank calls Domino's and it's pretty hilarious. It's not for everyone.
Did you give him a bomb threat or what?
No,
that's illegal.
We have this running. Maybe you guys can shine some light on this. We have this running inquiry about Pizza Hut's The Edge Pizza.
Okay, yeah.
They just it's just a thin crust fucking pizza.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's back,
Yeah.
baby.
They call it the edge.
Like,
They just call
it's
it the
got
edge. Yeah, like the
toppings all over
phone.
edge.
Yeah.
Like, but what is like? That's just a thin crust pizza. So it's like this whole thing. You had to be there anyway.
Yeah,
Okay, we get you. We get you.
But yeah, we are. I mean, technically, we're kind of celebrating what Roswell, which is like kind of the breakthrough of a big breakthrough for ufology, I think. And I feel like it's anywhere from the 3rd to the 8th seems to be around the time, because if you go through all of the details, there's really not a precise date.
Yeah.
So
nobody
this is just
knows
like
for
Roswell
sure.
days. No one knows for sure.
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
just the Roswell period. So
Which
possibly,
is a great start to ufology, that like the one thing that we talk about, nobody can actually say exactly when it happened, and it sets up the rest of ufology for the
it
next 100
absolutely
years.
does. It does.
Peppa age.
What about
But
you,
shit.
Tony? You got anything coming out this week?
I'll be working on the project that I'm working on for a while. The podcast is not coming back until November-ish.
Okay.
Oh goodness.
So I'll be filming various things for a different project that I will be releasing.
Oh, I love it. That's a vibe.
Dope. And that's going to be released on your channel?
Yes.
Vibing.
Bottled water.
Bottled water does shit with a camera for 3 months.
Oh, I love that. All right, you guys ready to get out of here?
OnlyFans. That's
Yeah,
Not on
yeah.
OnlyFans.
Only ghosts. All right, love you guys. Good night. See you guys
Love
next
you
week.
guys.
Love you all.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.